Welcome everyone to Concurrent Session B. This session is highlighting pains of poverty, the poverty focus group. Let's start with a bit of housekeeping. This session is being recorded and we ask that participants keep both your audio and video off during the presentation portion of the session. This will protect the bandwidth and hopefully prevent potential issues with lagging. We have several great internships to hear about, so let's get started. Our featured intern presenters are Amanda James, Client Services, intern at Care Help of Sulphur, Ashley Morton, VITA intern with United Way of Southwest Louisiana and Lake Charles, Pamela Williams, CASA intern with United Way of Acadiana and Lafayette. We will begin by viewing the video reports they have prepared for us, followed by a Q&A, where we will be able to ask focused questions about their internship experiences.
Hi, my name is Ashley Martin, and for the 2021 spring semester, I had the pleasure of interning at United Way of Southwest Louisiana through the VITA program. VITA stands for Volunteer Income Tax Assistance. Through the VITA program, I was able to help families that were low to moderate income prepare and submit their taxes to the IRS. And the great thing about VITA was all these services were provided for free to the families. My overall goal was to help different groups of people. I knew working with VITA, I'll be able to help the elderly community, the disabled community, people that were in poverty, and I was able to reach a lot of different groups and people that had different backgrounds. One of my learning objectives was to learn and understand all the rules and regulations. I knew that it was important to learn these laws and regulations. That way I could successfully help the families prepare and submit their income tax return to the IRS. One of my outcomes was I received my certification to be a tax preparer for VITA. And another one of my outcomes was I successfully filed 44 tax returns and submitted it to the IRS for 44 families. This is a visual of the 44 tax returns that I did file for the families. This is a picture of the certification that I received, the certificate that I received for successfully completing the certification course and for successfully passing the advanced exam for the VITA program. This is a lab artifact that I created for VITA. It's a brochure. This brochure could be given out into the community. It could be given out to recruit more volunteers. It states the mission of the program, and this brochure just put together all the services that VITA provide and explain more of what VITA is and the services that they provide to the community. This is a poem that I wrote to kind of recruit people to come and give VITA help to file their tax return. And I read the poem. Can you really save money on a low income? Use VITA to file your tax. We will help save you some. When it comes to filing your taxes, don't stress yourself with uncertainties. We can help with no fee. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. All our volunteers are IRS certified. They will help you with pride. Dial 211 to make an appointment. It can be face-to-face or virtually. It will only take a moment of your time and you won't have to spend a dime. Bring all your tax documents. It would be the best $0 you ever spent. Taxes can be tricky to do on your own. Bring it to VITA. We will help you along. In the beginning, before I was able to even help any families or even start the program, I had to take a course and learn the rules and regulations. And then after I took the course for 2 to 3 weeks, I had to study for the exam to be a tax preparer in order to help the VITAL program in order to be a part of the VITAL program, and I successfully passed that with a 90%, 91%. The first ever tax return that I prepared, I was so nervous and focused. It took me about 1 hour, 1 to 2 hours to complete because I just wanted to make sure that I did it correctly, which I called my site supervisor after I did it just to have her look over it. And she told me that I did everything correctly. At the end of the last tax return that I completed, I realized that I had gained more confidence. The previous my very first tax return that I did, if I had to do it now, I could do it in probably less than 30 minutes. So going through the program, I gained a lot of confidence, and it made me realize that I can, even though I was faced with challenges, I still was able to successfully help families by sticking through it and by continuing to show up and continuing to try. I want to say thank you to Ms. Kimberly Hackard and Ms. Lynn Pope. Both of these ladies were very supportive. They was very encouraging. Any questions that I had, any concerns that I had no problem calling them and asking them, and they had no problem helping me along the way. And I'm very thankful to have had them as a support system and as a resource through this internship program.
Hello, my name is Pamela Williams, and I am a community outreach intern at United Way of Acadiana and CASA of South Louisiana. During my time at United Way of Acadiana and CASA of South Louisiana, I've learned that there's a huge initiative that CASA takes to reduce child abuse. United Way also has a Second Harvest food bank that eliminates food deserts in the area. And the Early Head Start program is in place to start childhood education earlier at about the age of 3 instead of the standard 5 where children are first going to kindergarten or pre-K. One of my favorite things that I've learned about United Way of Acadiana is TBRI, and it's Trust-Based Relational Interventions. And this is how to recognize trauma and how to provide services that helps to manage and eliminate them, how to serve the whole child. This is important for parents, educators, caregivers, or anyone who works hands-on with children to learn to identify the positive and the negative parts that comes with the trauma of a child and how to rectify them and not just put a Band-Aid on them in order to heal the child and make them whole again. The strategic plan put into place was to read the code laws for the state of Louisiana about neglect and abuse of a child. There's a current overhaul being done of those state laws to ensure that they best serve families and DCFS, Department of Children and Family Services. They are more streamlined and they're hands-on with reunifying families and their needs to make sure that the things that are being asked of them are actual needs and not just a standard. Reunification is always the goal, but as a CASA, you represent the needs of the child. One of the lab artifact highlights of this semester was the book Bento created for the Connected Child. My internship supervisor asked me to read this book to help bring TBRI full circle for me. In creating the book Bento, I chose 3 items to help pull out the highlights of the book to ensure that I was able to comprehend it. And I also knew that the most important things about TBRI, first is time. I chose the watch to help remember that time is needed to change any behavior. None of this will happen overnight. The second is the butterfly, and the butterfly represents the changes that take place so that once they are finished, they can fly without fear. These little people have gone through so much. Some of their trauma comes from things that most of their trauma comes from things that they have no control over. So once they learn that they are able to change and they are able to feel good about themselves, they can fly throughout the world. They can do anything. They can be anybody. They can do whatever their hearts desire. And time and knowing that it is okay takes place. Also with love. Love is most necessary to even attempt this type of change. Love starts within and extends into the child for everyone to grow. Love is necessary in order for TBRI to even be put into place, because once this happens, so much changes for the child. They become happier, they're healthier, they're mentally stable. They are able to come together and to express themselves and know that they are secure. That is one of the most important things that I've learned about TBRI. A second lab artifact that was done was mindfulness minutes. This project was put into place for the United Way of Acadiana Microsoft Teams account. The goal was to pull together 20 slides or reminders of how to be more mindful of yourself throughout the day. With more people working from home, more people being more anxious because of COVID and all of the uncertainties that have been created in our world, being more mindful will help you stay grounded, eliminate anxiousness, and also keep you in charge of yourself. One of the first things I have here is the engine plate. And it checks how your engine plate is running. It asks you to do a self-evaluation. So you know if you are a little low, you may need a little more energy. You're in the middle, you're doing just fine, or you're a little high, and you need to come down a little bit. There are lots of tools to help you maintain your balance. And it also lets others around you be aware of where you are. A second slide that I used was ways to reduce anxiousness. Being more mindful is just identifying that you are feeling anxious about something right now, or it may just be a few things that you're feeling anxious about. In order to eliminate some of that anxiousness, you can go outside, make sure you drink your water, write about how you feel, take a deep breath, just stay present in the moment. All of those things will help us all become more mindful of how we feel internally. And mindfulness isn't difficult. It's just we need to remember to do it, said Sharon Salzberg. And that is one of the most important things. Remember to be mindful and how you feel. In my reflection, I learned that United Way of Acadiana serves multiple populations. They bridge the gap from early childhood to older adulthood. The need for resources in the community is very vast and very wide. United Way of Acadiana helps stand in the gap of those areas and create a little security in helping us know that we're going to be okay. If you need some food, then they can provide it. If you're older and you don't get out much, and they can bring those meals to you with the Meals on Wheels program. The early childhood, they bring the Dolly Parton Imagination Library to your house. They have those books delivered to your home so you can start reading at an earlier age, and our children are start learning sooner. I also learned how the services are provided matters, and the history on why we need those services matter. And that goes back to TBRI. That lets us know that we are creating and we are treating the whole person. When you are extending grace and when you're providing services, it allows the person who's in need to know that it is okay, that in this moment that they're in need and that you're not looking down on them. The history on why those services are needed is important as well, because if this family has a history of mismanaging funds, then we can sit down and do some financial education and know that we've provided them with the sources on how to eliminate those problems so they don't have to keep experiencing them. And last but not least, I would like to say thank you to Kate Turner, the CASA Advocate Supervisor at CASA South Louisiana, and Sarah Palmer for introducing me to TBRI and giving me some knowledge and information, the time to learn, and the space to grow. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
So I think we'll only have those 2 videos for today. Now it's time to open up for a Q&A with the interns. Interns, please turn on your cameras now so we can see you, and we ask that all attendees keep your cameras off for the duration of this session so that we can focus on the interns. We also ask that all attendees leave your microphones off unless you are asking a question. This will help keep any unexpected sounds from distracting the rest of the session. If you have a question for one of the interns, please use the raise hand feature and I will call on you to ask your question. The raise hand is found in the meeting toolbar to the left of the red leave button. You can also raise your hand by clicking Control, Shift, and K at the same time. If you would prefer to type your question, feel free to type it in the session chat, and I will read it to the interns. Before we begin, I want to remind everyone that this session is being recorded. I'll start off the Q&A with a question for Ashley. What was something that you learned during your internship that was unexpected?
Can you repeat the question? I didn't hear you.
Yeah. What was something that you learned during your internship that was unexpected?
During my internship, I learned that which I kind of knew this already, that there's a lot of people who make that's like dealing with poverty. So it's a lot of people that I wouldn't expect to be able to use the VITA program, because VITA they only do the services, they only do free income tax preparing for people who make under $57,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
So like people, like some tax returns I was doing were for like teachers or like police officers and, you know, people that's very important in the community. So I didn't know that they made that amount. You know what I mean? I thought they would make more
Right.
since they're so important in the community.
Right. Does anyone else have questions?
I do. I have a question.
Okay.
What is something that you guys can use from your internship that y'all can carry on after y'all get your degrees?
One of the things that I learned that will always follow me is the TBRI, the Trust-Based Relational Intervention. And that just addresses everything. It addresses the mental, it addresses the physical, it addresses the whole person. And that's something that I've learned to actually carry on through my own children. It was in the book, The Connected Child. It was an experiment. And I did it with my own child because my little brother is a foster kid. Well, he was a foster kid. So he comes from some trauma. And so reading the book helps me work through some of the difficulties that he has. And I've actually noticed a big change in him. So being able to apply that to my life and to see the change has been really, really good.
For me, something that I learned doing this internship, for me, it was kind of hard doing the internship virtually in the beginning for me, because it was a lot of information to learn in a short amount of time. But I learned that, I guess, to have more confidence in myself. And I seen that if I did the work and I kept trying, that I'll be able to, you know, still go forth and be able to help people. And it's okay not to know everything, because that's my biggest thing. Like, I want to know it all. And it's okay not to. You can look it up.
I have a question. And this is Dr. Elijah. So Ashley and Pamela, can you elaborate more about, so the question is this. So before you were placed into an internship, that was the Family Science course 481 this spring. Before you got into this internship, you had to take a course that is called Family Life Education Methods and Practice last semester, remember? In the fall, you had the Family Science 423 course. Can you connect your performance during the internship? How well did you do in the internship to what you have studied in that methodological course in the fall? How well did that course in the fall help you to do this internship in the spring? Was there any help? What would be hard to do without that course if it was a help?
I know for me in that course, we learn how to write goals and how to write SMART goals and what SMART goals were. And then for this course, we had to write our strategic plan and write goals. So I could connect that with this course, like what I learned in the 423 class, I was able to bring to this class to do like make goals and to make objectives and have a plan on how to reach those goals.
For me, what I learned was as many of the different areas that the class addressed, it also kind of folded over into the many different areas that United Way addressed. There were people who needed different types of resources, and not just working with the CASA children in that program. So it just kind of helped it come full circle because we don't know exactly what everybody is going to need, and being able to just apply whatever you know to the situation and making them feel welcome, making them feel open, and knowing that you're educated enough to assist them and help them makes them feel open enough to say, hey, I need help.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your feedback.
What was the hardest part of y'all's internship?
For me, the hardest part was not being physically there. Because of COVID, they've limited their hours and the caseworkers aren't always in the office. So that was the hardest part for me, being able to adjust, because I'm a more hands-on person. So learning to intern virtually was a bit of a challenge. We did have Zoom meetings weekly and we emailed throughout the day, throughout the week, but not being as hands-on as I expected and as I'm usually am was different.
For me, it was kind of the same thing in the beginning. Like I was saying, for the training, usually it's face-to-face, but due to COVID, the training was virtual. So having to like learn all that information and study all that information in such a short time, that's probably like my hardest thing.
Does anyone else have any questions?
I don't have any questions. I just want to say I think y'all did a very good job on the presentation. I enjoyed watching both of your presentations.
Thank you.
I have one last question. What advice would you give to future interns in the focus area of poverty?
I think it's just to be open, have no biases, have your guard down, and that allows those families that you're there to assist to be more open themselves, to say, hey, I need help. And in the age of COVID that we're in right now, everything is different and everybody is different, is responding to it differently. Right. So knowing that, the way you've handled something may not be the same way someone else will handle something is just, is just keep that in mind, just be open.
And for me, I agree with what Pamela said, it's being open and be able to listen to what they're telling you, what they need, if like what the family needs or what the program needs or whatever. So just being open to listen and being willing to help. That would be my advice.
Well, if no one else has any more questions, we'll finish a little early since we only had 2 videos. So thank you to all of our participants for asking great questions, and a big thank you to our wonderful presenters for sharing their internship experiences with us. When I end this session, you will be back in the channel where you originally entered this session. I encourage you to review the conference schedule, then join us in another session. Thanks for joining us today, and I hope to see you in the next session.